let's talk about unit war. This activity is only appropriate for second grade and older. So there is one set for second and third grade and one set for fourth and fifth grade. The second and third grade cards purely show units, so hours, minutes, seconds, and days. And the students are purely trying to think about which unit is larger. So as they play war, one student would lay down one card, the other student would lay down a card, and whichever unit is greater, whoever laid down the greater unit gets to keep both cards, put it at the bottom of their stack, and continue playing. Now, one conversation that you'll want to have with students is what the implications are for units that are larger or smaller. For example, we can talk about what are some things that we would measure in seconds, or what are some things we would measure in days. So we might ask students, we can think about how long it takes us to run 100 meters, right? Just run from one end of the playground to the other. That might make sense to measure in seconds. However, if we're talking about how long it takes someone to drive to their grandma's house, if they live close by, it might make sense to measure it in minutes. If they live really far away, we might measure it using hours. And so we can have the conversation about how the size of the units helps determine how many of those units are needed to measure a certain amount of time. So obviously a larger unit, you wouldn't need as many of a larger unit to measure the same amount of time as if you used a smaller unit. Now the older students are given certain quantities with actual numeric values on them. And so as students play war, they will have to perform some conversions in order to figure out which is greater or which is less. So students may need some time talking about the different units, how we can convert those units before they sit down to play the game. However, we also want to encourage students to reason about the different quantities to determine if an actual calculation is necessary. For example, if one student lays down 10 minutes and the other student lays down 1,707 seconds, okay, we could convert one of these units in order to figure out, in order to make them have the same number or have the same units and then compare them. However, we can also think about the fact that I know 60 seconds are in 1 minute, and if I have 10 of them, that's 600 seconds. I can pretty easily reason through that and identify that 600 seconds is a lot less than 1,707 seconds. So we can encourage students to use reasoning to determine if an actual calculation is necessary instead of calculating it every single time.